Hey, come here. I know it's a bit unconventional, but I figured out a way to solve the Israeli-Palestinian crisis. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Eves is back, and we are leaning into the schlock and cringe. This time we're reading The Texas-Israeli War, 1999, by Jake Saunders and Howard Waldrop. That's right, it took two guys to write this epic tome. It's on my channel because typically I'm the only Texan of the group, but not this time. This time we're joined by Joseph Reed's Books, a fellow Lone Star State book cowboy. Join us live November 27th, 2 p.m. Central Time. Yeehaw! Welcome to Pulp Mortem, the search for a lost science fiction classic. Maybe I shouldn't have eaten that birthday cake mushroom. Yeah. Confused? You haven't seen nothing yet. But first, a little about the author. And boy, do I mean little. I can't find a picture of the author anywhere, and information about him is scarce. We do know that Frank Charles Robert Wells was a UK author born on January 31st, 1921, and he died in 2021 at the age of 92. His first short story was published in Observer in 1954, and Wells went on to write 8 more short stories and only 4 novels. And that's all, folks.
That's all.
Which brings us to Candle in the Sun. The sea moaned around with many voices, but to Gascon they all cried, despair. Trapped at the bottom of the ocean when disaster struck and his world was drowned, Gascon was left to mourn the passing of mankind and to send forlorn messages on his useless telex in the vain hope that someone somewhere would answer. And one day an answer came, which plunged Gascon into a vortex of horror and suspense which nearly cost him the last shreds of his sanity. The twisted Arcadians and the monsters they planned to loose upon the surface, the Marans, dwellers in and rulers of the deeps, the savage birds, creatures from a waking nightmare. Candle in the Sun was an original story first published by Berkeley Medallion in 1971 for 75 cents. I have the first edition, though I must admit that I really want the 76 Sidgwick and Jackson hardcover. It's pretty cool. Anyways, my copy has a cover by Paul Lair. We just reviewed a Lair cover and same thoughts as before. I really enjoy his art style. It's foreboding and ominous, and just like Dimension of Miracles, the cover doesn't exactly match the story, but it 100% matches the tone. The paperback edition that I have goes for under $10, and I've actually seen the hardcover for around $20 as well, so pretty cheap, I suppose. And without further ado, let's talk about what I liked. Something has happened. The entire world is covered in water, and when we enter the story, we are dropped in the deep end of this mysterious, wet world. We aren't actually told what happens, only that humanity has left the planet on these large spaceships called arcs. Our hero Ray Gascon is the only human left on Earth, and he lives in the top of a skyscraper, as the tops of very tall buildings are the only things sticking out of the water, the only islands around. Each new day brings mystery and despair, and each night, terrifying storms.
The sea was angry that day, my friends.
Then one day, Gascon follows the siren's call of a woman named Clavel into the depths of the earth to try and find another human being, and in doing so, to try and save his humanity as well. The world of Candle in the Sun is so memorable and creepy.
That's so creepy.
Each new setting in Gascon's frightening journey is alien and unique. Gascon is careful around the water during the day, and he never goes near it at night. The reason why is he knows that the Marans are there, watching him. He's seen the outlines of these mysterious creatures swimming around at night from the flashing lights of the sunken city below. No longer slaves, these Marans were freed from mankind's rule once they abandoned the world. Gascon literally missed the Ark because he was a prisoner of the Marans, a museum piece on display to remember the former world. How did he survive at the bottom of the sea? How long was he there as their prisoner, suspended in the dark? We don't know. The story opens after Gascon has already escaped somehow and swam to the surface. All that we do know for sure is that these Marans want him back. So what are these mysterious Marans? We don't actually know. Gascon doesn't feel like explaining things.
He was totally weird. He was weird.
It is possible that these Marans are dolphins. At least it's possibly hinted, but again, that isn't clear. How cool though, once humans are gone, dolphins take over the world as the reigning sentient species. I like to think that's the case, but I'm actually unsure, which kind of leads us to...
It's Flipper, the fabulous dolphin.
Ray Gascon is an unreliable narrator. As we progress further and further into the story, we see him sink deeper and deeper into insanity. Even from the very beginning, I found myself asking, is this real or not? Was he ever at the bottom of the sea? Is he still there, actually? Clearly, Gascon cannot be trusted because he doesn't even trust himself. I love the descent into madness story archetype. For whatever reason, it just resonates with me. It's terrifying. We all know monsters aren't under the bed. But what if you can no longer trust your own mind? That's real horror. And then add on top of that, copious amounts of psychedelic drugs, possible hypnosis, and baby, we got a stew chock full of what the is going on here.
You're getting sleepy. You're enjoying this video. You're liking and subscribing.
Out of all the Ark spaceships that took humanity into the stars, there was one that failed to launch. And now these Arcadians, mutants who dwell underground, are left here. This is all so disturbing in the very best way. These mutants are so gross, and I want to see this movie with practical effects. It's dank, it's eerie, and the scenes with the mutants really stand out. Gascon refers to himself poetically as the last candle of mankind, or man-candle, hence this title, Candle in the Sun. Which brings us to Clavel. The only thing keeping Gascon's fragile mind tethered to his last shreds of humanity is the search for this woman Clavel, the voice he heard, or thought he heard. While a prisoner in the city of mutants and monsters, Gascon is in the cell, and he finds some words scribbled on the wall. Gascon heard a choking cry. It came from his own throat. He studied the trembling light on the rear wall of the cell, but the flood of memory which burst out of the place where he had damned it threatened reason. He spelled out the inscription piece by piece. He heard his own speech like the speech of someone else. I, Clavel, last flame of humanity among the inhuman, survive here at the center of darkness, burdened by bitter fruit, believing in the light. The last candle, searching for the last flame. Would this journey burn out to the wick and smolder into darkness, or bring light back into the world? That's actually really beautiful, and through this gritty, nightmarish story, you'll find yourself cheering not just for this madman, but for hope. And now, the bad. There are a few points here in the bad section, but really only one major problem with this book. It can be very confusing and very hard to understand. And it's not just the fact that Gascon is insane and the entire world here is mad. Robert Wells dunked his entire typewriter in purple because this takes purple prose and paints purple all over it. For example, the only Ray Bradbury I've read is Something Wicked This Way Comes. Which I love this, but it's also his most polarizing work. While reading it, you're constantly asking how much of this is literal and how much of this is just flowery metaphor. Is the skeleton man a skinny man or an actual skeleton? Just like Something Wicked, Wells' prose here gives this book a dreamlike feel. Unfortunately, that dream is a mushroom OD, sunlight-deprived, LSD-induced fever dream that keeps you continually sleep-twitching throughout. There are entire sections of this book that I read, had to reread, and even after that still say, I have no idea what just happened. This will 100% turn some people off to this book. If you view this as a traditional A to B storyline, you probably won't like it very much. If you view this as an experience, you'll probably love it. I really do think it was this decision that places this book in obscurity and potentially banished Wells there as well. The reason being is he's talented. His writing is good, it's imaginative, the story is bonkers but very immersive, but there's no doubt about it. His style will just turn a lot of people off to this book and unfortunately to Wells as well. I mean, look around. No one else on YouTube is talking about this book. No one else is talking about Robert Wells, and I don't know, but that might be the reason why. It's a shame, it really is, but I get it.
Shame.
You may have noticed earlier that the back cover was censored. Oh yeah, that's because it spoils the ending! Luckily, I had forgotten about that while reading it, but just be aware that it's there. If you get this book, do not read the back cover. Also, do not read. The exact same thing is written right on the first page here. I hate it when publishers do this. Come on, Berkeley. Okay, if you're a city full of mutants who are trying to rebuild the world, Obviously, the seed of a healthy human would be invaluable, right? So they conspire and set about a means of secretly extracting said resource in the most uncomfortable and probably illegal manner possible. That's all I'm gonna say about it. I'll let your twisted and perverse minds fill in the gaps. Quick, let's have some fun. While in the Arcadian city, they throw a celebration. The guest of honor, Ray Gaskin. Now, since they're so deep underground, these mutants' diet consists primarily of fungi of varying levels of psychotropics. To celebrate, a giant, twitching birthday cake of a shroom is cultivated, guaranteed to fry you straight back to Woodstock. Up to this point, this book was wild and weird, but when an entire population of freaks start tripping balls, hold on. Personally, I don't partake in the mush or the bush. No judgment if you do, but man, after reading that section, even I felt a little blitzed. Gascon has moments of clarity throughout this, and his lucidity was always coupled with an outburst. Son of a... It's like he's suddenly aware and commenting on this surreal and frankly ridiculous world. Now, it doesn't go so far as to break the fourth wall, but it is humanizing and hilarious. And if we're being honest, if you are slowly losing your mind in the midst of this weird, bizarre alien world, chances are you let a few insults fly.
Millicent, you look charming. I love your dress. Don't you, Thornton? It's such a lovely shade of green.
Yeah, if that dress had pockets, you'd look like a pool table.
So what's the verdict? Personal collection. There are themes in here that grip you and don't let go until long after you've read the final page. My main critique stands. This book is not written to be fully explained or understood. It is meant to be experienced. Wells doesn't guide you through this strange world, but rather pushes you into the dark water, and you're faced with a decision to fight the current or just let go and let it take you. In all honesty, some of you will probably hate this, but I loved it. If you're a lover of bizarre and surreal science fiction, then I think you should seek this out. If for nothing else than the impactful and frankly beautiful ending that the back cover mercilessly spoils. But this book is the perfect example of why I started this channel in the first place. The world seems to have forgotten all about Robert Wells, and that's a darn shame. Especially considering he wrote a book about robot dinosaurs. And that is my review of Candle in the Sun. Tell me, have you read this or anything else by this obscure author? If so, let us know in the comments down below. Also, while you're down there, is there another obscure author that you love and you think I should be on the lookout for? Again, smash those keys, baby. And one last thing. Sorry, Richard. I can't help myself. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time with Orbit 1.
You make a movie called Flipper. Very famous movie. The dolphin is dead. Did you know this?
Yes. No, I did not know that. That's terrible.
Died in a car accident.